दन्ताणं नमो श्वेताणं नमो आयर्याणं नमो वज्रायाणं नमो लोये सवसाहुणम् ऐसो पञ्चनमुक्कारो शवपावपणाशनो मङ्गलाणं च सव्येसिं पद्मं वै मङ्गलम् नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमः शिवाय। जय सच्चिदानन्द जय सच्चिदानन्द जय सच्चिदानन्द.
So I would like to request Lala sir to escort the guest for the lighting of the lamp.
शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदा शत्रुबुद्धि विनाशाय दीपज्योति नमोस्तुते दीपज्योति नमोस्तुते असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योन्मा अमृतं गमय.
I would like to request Lala sir to felicitate Professor Godavrish Mishra with the bouquet. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mishra ji. Thank you, Lala sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Yashodhara Kar. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to request Lala sir to felicitate Dr. Professor Nitin Vyas sir on the stage. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Moving further with the agenda, I would like to request Vasant Dada, Mr. Vasant Bhai U. Patel, who is a president of Holistic Science Research Center, Surat, for the welcome speech.
We welcome all present and global participants, Mr. R.C. Sinha, Professor S.R. Bhatt Sahib, Professor Gautam Bhai Patel, Dr. Mishra, academic staff leader Dr. L.D. Patel Sahib, and all other helpers. Sri G.A. Shah Sahib, Dr. Radhe Krishnan, our all trustees, Pujya Sri Kanu Dadaji, and glory goes all the way up to Pujya Sri M. Patel, holistic scientist Dada Bhagwan. Dada says charity begins from the home. So this science has to start for himself first, and if it is helpful to him first, he has to take to all family members. And when all family members get that benefits, then they have to take this message to their all friends. And if each and individual will do that way, we can have a Vishwa Kutum. Narendra Modi Bhai said one time in UN meeting that we want to become Vishwa Kutumbakam. So this is just process started, Dadaji has in his life all connection of previous lives, knowledge that popped out in this life. He was non-matricate, but he met Dr. Radhakrishnan, who is a NASA scientist, and he said that Dadaji, this science has to go to the scientist. So Dada said that you, Vasan Bhai and all others try to do this one in India and take this message to the all educationists, all scientists, and take to the world, so people get peace and independence for themselves, Like Mahatma Gandhi ji fought for independence for the nations. Martin Luther King fought for his community. And in South Africa, I don't remember name, he fought for his community. But after getting whatever the independence, still they have fight. And these scientists wants to give the liberation from their own life. So ultimately they can get a peace and happiness and complete liberation. And that we can get by just right understanding without any efforts, So this science we are going to go to give to the scientists, all educationals, some trainers, so they can take message to the world, And we are most fortunate this time that we are connected with the Delhi Indian Philosophy Conference, and we are organizing this conference. So this message is really going to go all over the world, and we can have the positive bhav, intent, positive bhav. And bhav has a too much velocity, mass, speed, so we can achieve whatever we want to achieve, So this center is here to help you all people. So please come here, try to study and learn, then take message to the needy people so we can change people of the life, Jai Satchidanand.
Thank you, Vasan Bhai Patel, for such a beautiful welcome. Now, as we know, we have online guests also. So, Professor R.C. Sinha, who is a chairman of Indian Council of Philosophical Research, New Delhi. He is with us online. So, I would like to request Professor R.C. Sinha for inaugural address for the ceremony.
So I must extend my namaskar to each and everyone, and especially to organizers of the Holistic Science and Research Center. I think doubly obliged because I had been previously to that center when the session of Indian Philosophy Congress was organized. The campus of that research center was so fascinating, and we had a very nice time in the campus. And very many scholars from India and some of the scholars from outside India also participated. So the moment I got the invitation, I decided to join. I wanted to join personally, offline, but due to this COVID pandemic, I'm sorry to say that I could not make a trip. Yesterday I took the vaccination, and so naturally uh, it is not desirable on my part to travel such a long distance. So for that I am sorry, but uh, I am very much happy that such a uh, such topic has been stipulated. The saint tradition of India is a great tradition, and virtually Indian philosophy has not been developed by any professionals. The saints and the seers, they have formulated Indian philosophy. Philosophizing, in true sense of the term, has not been done in the classroom. Philosophizing in India has been done by saints, seers, and in the contemporary world, in the modern world, also we find very many saints who have propounded novel philosophy. Philosophizing is not simply a system building as it was done earlier in the ancient period, but philosophizing in the modern period is creating, uh, rather evolving a new concept and relating one concept to the other. And in this connection, in this backdrop, I would like to mention a great saint and seer of the contemporary, great seer of the modern world, namely Sri Aurobindo. Since I visited the Pondicherry ashram, and I found that the entire ashram was having a spiritual vibration. So I would like to just speak out some of the remarkable contributions of Saint Maharishi Sri Aurobindo, because one advantage I will be having while talking about Sri Aurobindo, he was a saint and he was a philosopher. So it will be easy for the academician like a teacher like me, teacher of philosophy, to speak about the contributions of Sri Aurobindo. First of all, I would like to make a distinction between Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, integral Advaitism, and Shankar's Advaitism. Shankaracharya was also a great saint philosopher. But here, Sri Aurobindo makes certain advances, especially I refer to the concept of the Mayavad and Advaitism. So, Shankaracharya was a spiritual saint, but having a transcendental philosophical bent of mind. Sri Aurobindo, Shankaracharya propounded Advaitism, non-dualism. On the other hand, Sri Aurobindo Sri Aurobindo's philosophy can be categorized under the head integral Advaitism. What I mean by integral Advaitism? Integral Advaitism of Sri Aurobindo can be understood in two ways. One is the ontological, the other is epistemological. Ontologically speaking, Sri Aurobindo reconciles between the matter and the spirit, idealism and materialism. He does not attempt to negate materialism in order to subscribe to spiritualism or idealism. So he reconciles idealism and materialism. On the other hand, Sri Aurobindo, epistemologically also, he thinks that sense experience, reason, and intuitive vision or supramental consciousness, they are not separated to each other. The integral vision which dawns, Sri Aurobindo thought that if we go through the yogic practices, the spiritual vision dawns, the man is transformed. So for that transformation, for having that spiritual vision, one has to reconcile between sense experience, reason, and intuition. So, for any spiritual being, integral vision is a must. And Sri Aurobindo, a great modern saint philosopher, propounded the integral Advaitism. He propounded integral vision. And he was very much concerned with the world, that the hallmark of 20th century Indian thought is that they are not cut off from the world. They do not talk about going to other world. They live in this world. They serve the humanity, and they get liberated. So Sri Aurobindo talks about talks that man will be transferred into Gnostic being or divine being. So if sense experience, reason, intuition, these are the faculties to know, if they are reconciled and they are integrated, we must have a holistic vision. And naturally, when we will be having a holistic vision, man will be transformed into some divine being. So Sri Aurobindo has contributed a lot for the ordinary man, for the common man, because there is a possibility of the common man to attain the spiritual vision through yoga, and man can become Superman, man can become Gnostic being. And Sri Aurobindo stipulated that man cannot attain the spiritual height, or man cannot attain divinity unless and until the nature is also transformed. So he wants total transformation of the nature and the man, because his logic is that a man cannot attain that spiritual height unless and until if he remains lolling in this worldly affairs, what is the use of attaining liberation or moksha or spiritual vision of a man? If a man or B man attains that vision, that attains that spiritual status, so that will not be very useful. So he talks about holistic or integral vision in which every man has got potentiality to go up, to evolve. Nature will become supernature and man will become Gnostic being. That is the vision of the saint philosopher of the 20th century. So since we are a student of philosophy, so naturally philosophizing philosophizing is not the be all and end all, because philosophizing involves ratiocination, and this saints and seers, they go beyond the rational level, and they attain, and after attaining the spiritual or integral vision, they serve the society. They are not cut off from the society. And this is also true that a man who has got a spiritual vision can serve the society well. Otherwise, a selfish man, a man who is always hankering after the self-interest, cannot serve the society. So for saints they renounce. भारतवर्ष में त्याग का एक अपना महत्व है. महात्मा गांधी महात्मा बन गए because he has sacrificed very many things, and he became Mahatma. Or Sri Aurobindo became Maharishi because he did penance and he attained that level of spirituality. So hopefully the saints and seers of India, they have shaped the not only philosophical course of life, but they participated in the national movement. And Sri Aurobindo is one who can be cited, a saint who fought for independence, who had a dream for India, and he carved the map of future India. So naturally, with these words, hopefully, I must thank the organizers and Professor Bhatt. 2 days back, we were together in Delhi, and I have got every regards for him and Basant Bhai Patel and others, some of the elderly, very elderly persons who are nourishing the holistic research center. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I must thank Godavari Mishra also, because he telephoned me in the morning. So, Godavari ji, I responded to your call and I am here. With these words, I take leave of.
Thank you
So
so much.
over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for explaining us about the importance of the spirituality. We have Professor S.R. Bhatt online with us. I would like to introduce him. He is a chairman of Indian Philosophical Congress, renowned scholar of Indian philosophy, and academic advisor of HSRC. Formerly, he was holding a position as a professor and former head of department, coordinator UGC Special Assistance Program, Department of Philosophy, University of Delhi, professor and head of Department of Philosophy from MS University, Baroda. Now, I would like to request Professor S.R. Bhatt to grace the stage.
Thank you for inviting me to this very significant and needful seminar, which is a redeeming course for the plight human beings are suffering from. The holy land of India has been blessed by a series of seers and sages who have out of their sublime vision, deep reflection, extensive study and teachings have guided humanity for betterment of living. They have enabled us to know the meaning of life, the purpose of life, the goal of life, and also a way for the same. So these sages and seers guided us in our rational modes of thinking and congenial ways of living. They were both theoreticians as well as men and women of practical concerns. Their teachings have been guiding humanity in terms of individual transformation, social transformation, national transformation, and transformation of the entire cosmos. Their vision was holistic and integral. They realized that there is fundamental unity among all multiple existences. The entire multiplicity springs from one unifying principle. And therefore we all, living as well as non-living, animate as well as inanimate, share the same essence. Etad atma idam sarvam, or sarvam khalu idam brahma. And therefore, we are rooted in one unifying principle. But from that, the entire multiplicity springs. And therefore, our seers and saints
Hello. Sir, am I audible?
which is a pure consciousness and full of bliss, Satchidananda. I am associated with this particular Holistic Science Research Center right from its very beginning, and our slogan is Jai Satchidananda. So, this is the guiding principle that through Chit we have to approach Sat for Ananda. This is Satchidananda. This is the ultimate goal of all human enterprises. And this multiplicity is to be reckoned with as something to be confronted and something to be taken hold of. We call it as Vyavaharika Satta. And the ultimate reality we call it as Paramarthik Satta. Both Paramarth and Vyavahar are to be valued. Through Vyavahar we have to reach to Paramarth. Every seer and saint has put forth this idea of a very happy symbiosis of Vyavahar and Paramartha. Through Vyavahar alone we can reach to Paramartha. So we have to first transform Vyavahar and then reach to Paramartha. From one we come from, but to one again we have to lead. So the reality is at once both centripetal as well as centrifugal. There is multiplicity in unity, and also there is unity in multiplicity. This is the message of all our saints and seers. We are fortunate that our saints and seers appeared at all points of time, right from the Rigvedic or even pre-Rigvedic period, from all points of time and at all places in our country. Every part of country has been blessed by saints and seers. Ours is therefore a very unique country, a distinct one from rest of the world. We should be proud of that. And we have a very rich heritage consisting of preachings, sayings, writings of these saints and seers. In fact, it is as a people of posterity, our collective responsibility to preserve and protect that heritage. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do so. It's high time that we have a large project. In fact, we conceived it sometime back in ICPR. Now it is in cold storage. But it's high time that we think of having a consolidated formulation of these sayings and writings of saints and seers. They may have some variation. As Rigvedic seer says, ekam sad vipraha bahuda vadanti. But at bottom, they have the same idea. And therefore, these literature, which has come down to us in the form of heritage, has to be revisited. Revisited because of two reasons. One is that we have lost sight of it. Much of these writings are in oblivion. We don't study them, we don't know about them also. And the second reason is that in terms of changed circumstances, changed requirements, what is we call as Yuga Dharma, because cosmic process is not static, it is constantly changing. And therefore, when we revisit, it is also a sort of reinterpretation, not just merely parroting the past, but some innovative. We have, for example, our sayers used to say that our heritage is not closed one, not like a static pond. Let many tributaries join it, like a flowing river. Newer and newer ideas should come forth. And these ideas should be from within our soil only, mainly, but should be supplemented by ideas coming from outside. Ano bhadraha kranantu vishvata. Let noble thoughts come to us from all over the world, so that we do not become a frog in a well, kupa manduka. We have to be, but then we should be firmly footed in the present. Of course, we should be rooted, deeply rooted in the past, but we should be firmly footed in the present, and this is for sake of future, glorious future. We have to look for the future. So, if we have to undertake any project with regard to the spiritual realizations and dissemination of their wisdom as a project, then we have to keep our eyes on the past, how they have transformed our very being, our very psyche, cultivating Kushala Chitta, Tanme Manaha, Shubh Sankalpamastu, cultivation of Kushala Chitta and resulting in Kushal Charya, symbiosis of Chitta and Charya. Well, in fact, they not only taught these noble ideas and ideals, they actually lived them. Their life is something which is to be emulated. All the auspicious virtues they advocated, but also practiced and put before us examples. They were exemplary leaders. They were not only guru for enlightenment, for eradication of our ignorance, but also for making us virtuous in our modes of living. Their spirituality is to the core ethics, virtue ethics. So, we should in fact, and I wish that this particular center may take up a project wherein there is to begin with a collection of literature of different sages and seers from different corners of the country. It's not an ordinary enterprise, not very easy one. It is a collective enterprise. As our Rishi, Upanishadic Rishi says, Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, saha viryam karvavahe. Saha viryam. It has to be a collective enterprise, and in this collective enterprise should consist of a well-planned effort consisting of sadhya, sadhana, iti kartavita and phala. You have to take into account what is the goal, what is the purpose of our this enterprise of revisiting the sayings and writings of the saints and seers. How should we do that? What are the means for that? How can we acquire those means? And how can we put those means to use by way of modalities? And how our enterprise should result in something concrete, something not for an individual or a group of individual or a nation, but the whole cosmos. We sarve bhavantu sukhinah. This is the motto that guides us. We don't talk of aham, we talk of sarvam. We don't, in terms of Martin Buber say I thou. We say I and we. We never have this sort of contrast between I and thou. We have reconciliation between I and we. So we have to therefore universalize our I so that it becomes we. It becomes sarvatma. Not when we say atmanam vijanihi, it is not the narrow self to be known. It is the universal self, the self which is there as an inner essence of all. In this enterprise, again, we have to remember one thing. We have to put forth a paradigm of value realization in which hita and sukha, wellness and happiness should be the ideals to draw us. As Lord Buddha says, Charatta bhikkhave charikam bahujana hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya. Hita and Sukha should be the guiding principles. And in fact, all these saints and seers have put forth Hita and Sukha as the ideals, summum bonum of human existence. And for this, we have to take into account such means for the realization of these goals. These are the sadhya, but the sadhana should always be in the form of labha and shubha. Always they say that it should be conducive to wellness, labha, and it should be pure, shubha, having a virtuosity, uprightness, and we call it as dharma. And Manu has narrated such dharmas, the Dasa Lakshana Dharma. Everywhere we have, in all Indian traditions, whether it is the Vedic tradition or the Buddhist tradition or the Jain tradition or the Sikh tradition, well, these all, of course, the root is the same for all these traditions. They come from the same source. And all these traditions have talked of dharma. It is dharma centricity which has been the keynote of the message of these seers and saints. So, first step should be to collect their messages from all parts of our country. It's a very vast job and a teamwork. Having collected them, we have to thoroughly scrutinize, a sort of a pariksha, gunadosha samiksha, as to what is relevant for our present day needs and requirements, how to make them relevant, that means creative reinterpretation. This is the second task that we have to undertake. And the third task that we have to undertake is dissemination of that knowledge, that wisdom, that prajna. This prajna is something which is in the form of pratibha. And pratibha is defined as nava unmesh shalini. In a pratibha is never therefore a closed system. So it's a dynamic. And therefore newer and newer innovations have to be there. And the past has to be recreated, and that is done only kshane kshane yannatam upeti. This is about Ramanita. So this outcome should be Ramaniya. And therefore it has to be innovative. There has to be some sort of freshness. And this freshness is required by the force of circumstances, changing circumstances, yuga dharma. And therefore there has to be dissemination. It could be through books, through mass media, through other modes of dissemination of knowledge. Because knowledge is not to be put in the almirah, in the books only. It has to come out in the open field, so that people may get benefit of it. And therefore dissemination should be there, and this dissemination should result in transformation. The phala, the ultimate result should be transformation, all round transformation. So if this center can undertake this sort of exercise, well, this is what Pujya Dada Bhagwan envisaged. And this is what Sri Pujya, let's see, Kanu Dadaji also undertook as his attempt. So if we have to give a best tribute to Pujya Dada Bhagwan and Pujya Kanu Dadaji, we remember them with reverence and gratitude, but this reverence and gratitude should get concretized. And I wish that with the help of my old friend Vasant Bhai, whom I have met both in Surat but also in Oak Ridge and in my daughter's home in Schaumburg in America. Well, and also very active Dr. Radhakrishnan is very active, so he should also participate in this enterprise. And of course, in Surat we have Lalaji, he is a very dynamic person, having full of energy. So I hope that this particular project gets concretized. Well, I don't think there will be any paucity of funds for that. Funds will come. Where there is a will, there is a way. And so we have infrastructure in our Surat center. Funds will be available. And let us undertake this exercise as a sort of cultural history of India. It will be cultural history, not political history. Political history is already there and in a distorted form or well-written form. But let us have a cultural history of India, and that history we should be not merely say utopian, but something which may give us some concrete ideals for guidance in our noble way of living. I hope and wish that this seminar cum webinar will be successful in concretizing this particular enterprise, and I wish that Godavrish can also take a lead in this direction and come out with some concrete planning. I have already given him some suggestion for that, and I hope that he would come forward synthesizing, concretizing those suggestions. So I thank the organizers, and I am particularly happy to meet, of course, virtually Vasant Bhai, and I gratefully remember his entire family with whom I have lived in Oak Ridge for some time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a great advice and a great speech. Now I would like to invite Professor Godavrish Mishra to grace the podium. He was invited as a visiting academic to teach graduate and postgraduate students at Oriental Institute and Oxford Centre for Hindu Studies, University of Oxford, UK, from 8th October to 10th December 2003. He was invited as a visiting professor to teach PG postgraduate students at Mahatma Gandhi Institute, Mauritius, from 16th April 2006 to 14th May 2006 again. He has worked as a visiting professor to teach and guide research at the Department of Sanskrit, Indian Philosophy in Mahatma Gandhi Institute, Mocha, Mauritius, from February to June 2007. So I would like to invite Mishra ji to grace the podium. Thank you, sir.
Jai Satchidanand, most esteemed Professor Sinha, Chairman, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, Professor Bhatt, professors, those who have joined us online, Professor Nitin Vyas, Professor Gautam Patel, Professor Jitu Bhai Saha, and all others. On behalf of HSRC, I welcome all the participants, our Honorable Chairman of the ICPR, and all of you who have taken their time to be with us in this seminar. It is a moment of great joy for me that Holistic Science Research Center is organizing this national seminar on innovative spirituality. I am aware of the fact that the word spirituality would make philosophy scholars uncomfortable, and some of them would raise their eyebrows for such a nomenclature. Hence, I would like to submit before the scholars that initially I had the similar apprehension, and I wanted to give a distinct identity, which is why I have coined this word innovative spirituality to the Indian religious ethos than adopting the non-Indian forms of religiosity. My submission is that Indian religions between attainment and realization. Attainment and realization. It is realization that has become important in our tradition. Since realization, anubhava, plenary experience is important, the term spirituality stands to score than any other title like religion based on other dimensions of religions. In attempting to envision such a project, I would like to present before you that, in my opinion, since Upanishads through Gautama the Buddha till date, there is an unbroken chain of continuity of thinking based on the primacy of the self-understanding and man as a part of the society or universe. Through Mahavira, through Lokayatas, everybody, the Buddha, with his understanding against the Vedic practices, Mahavira, Shankara, up to Nanak, and the modern saints have highlighted this aspect of self-understanding in their own ways. If carefully seen, we will be able to clearly visualize how Mahavira and Gautama, the Buddha, are the inheritors of this tradition of spirituality that has been continuously flowing in this land like the river Ganga. All of them, up to the saints of our times, have emphasized one thing, that is the primacy of the self, that is the protection of the self-understanding, and the self as the part of the universe. Buddha feels awkward when he finds that the space for the other is not acknowledged in the name of a book, a source text, and that is the case with Mahavira, Lokayatas, Ajivakas, and all those who have practiced so-called heterodox forms of religiosity, which are very important for discussion. In the Gita, Krishna is giving a clarion call to fight a large-scale war to save the dignity of the self. See, war. A war, he is calling for a war. Championing the cause of a war. He is uncompromisingly calling for the need of a war to save the self, and this has been the model all along till our times. Every saint, every seer, highlighting the necessity of the self-knowledge in a holistic way, and that is the thrust of this seminar. Every seer has made innovations for his time, and in keeping with the requirement of his time, getting into a different chemistry of spirituality for the man, especially ordinary man, the man who should have a taste of this religiosity, this knowledge, this spirituality. The door of spirituality must be open to one and all, and that is what all the seers have been working on. Friends, the history, the second purpose why I would like such a project to be taken up in a very large scale manner involving all of you is that the history of our country, the history that our children study, is the history of subjugation. The history that how India was subjugated by the outsiders for thousands of years. After the epical war, Ramayana and Mahabharata wars of dharma, it is just meant to belittle ourselves. India remained victorious and withstood the onslaughts of invaders, and still keeping its identity because of the tradition of self-understanding that has been coming down till our times in different ways. It is the time that we know the excellent models of understanding that our rishis have left behind and made us richer with their legacies. every saint has something new to offer in this big basket of spirituality that India stands for. Say, it is the synthesis of Ramakrishna, integrality of Aurobindo, harmonious livings of Vaishnava saints, the non-violence of Mahavira, again the orthodox dharmic living of the Buddha, the social, the man as a part of the society as understood by the Vaishnava saints like Swaminarayana, holistic thinking like Dadaji Ambalal Patel, and whole lots of saints known and unknown, living and not living till our times. Can we really talk about this? Can we really talk about them, their understanding, their contribution? Yes and no. The spirituality falls short of providing to prepare in a tradition of words, in the tradition giving a vocabulary, giving a vent to the understanding that has gone into building such a great tradition of spirituality in this country. And in the words of the Upanishads, the voice of the Jivan Muktas who have sustained this universe worked for cementing the difference in the world, entertaining all differences, visible differences. Visible Bheda has been reduced to invisible non-difference. So they have worked for cementing the differences in a world, entertaining all differences. Ours is the tradition of Jivan Muktas. The preceptors of the realized ones are the examples, and such examples, instances are available from the period of Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I would like to give an example of such a tradition of understanding, such existence of Jivan Muktas. We have been having such Jivan Muktas till our times, and I would like to give one example how to initiate, start such a discourse, and how it is relevant for all the times to come. They are new for all the times with innovations. I will start. I would just say that one example from Brihadaranyaka, Janaka, as you all may be knowing, convened an assembly of scholars and made the condition that whoever is the knower of Brahman, whoever claims to that he is a Jivan Mukta, may take the 1,000 cows he wanted to offer. The problem is about the image of a liberated man. Image of a liberated. Can a person claim to be a Jivan Mukta? If he does, he is objectifying the self. And hence, the self-objectification is subjectified, he is not a Jivan Mukta. If everybody fails to quantify the self, the world will be without a Jivan Mukta. With this dichotomy, if you speak about it, if you speak about the unspeakable, then your speech does not, it is quantifying, objectifying, does not work. If you don't objectify, then it remains something not to be discoursed, spoken, explained. The whole Upanishads are useless. With this dichotomy, none of the sages could raise. Janaka, I am giving the example of Janaka and Yajnavalkya. Janaka is asking, whoever is a Jivan Mukta, whoever is a knower of the self may take these cows. If you say that you are a self-knower, you are not a self-knower. If you say that you don't know the self, then there is no knower of the self. The world will be bereft of such Jivan Muktas. With this dichotomy, none of the sages could raise up to proclaim that they are the knower of the self. Yajnavalkya felt this uncomfortable situation and at last asked his disciple to take the cows. Speaking indirectly, that quantification can be done in an indirect mode and sometimes directly, also as proclaimed by the Upanishads and coming down in different languages, different modes till our times. He says, Vayam Brahmavido Numaha. We pay our respects to those knower of the selves. I don't want to speak more about this. Gautam Bhai Ji has come. All of you have come to deliberate on this, and this is our tradition. We offer our respects to those Jivan Mukta. He says, Yajnavalkya says, the persons of self-understanding. This is what is the exercise about. This is what this exercise is about, this seminar is about. The persons of self-understanding, to identify, to find out, to make them understood for us and for the sake of posterity. This is what we want to record the voice of the eloquent silence of Atmajnana. Please remember, eloquent silence of Atmajnana, its relevance, and to learn from them the way to lead a meaningful life, leading to self-understanding. Thank you all friends for joining us today, and with this I call upon all of you to take part in this Jnana Yajna, to identify and quantify the contribution that the saints and seers of this land has done for the sake of harmonious living. Professor Bhatt has already spoken what all I have to speak, and I am grateful to you, Professor Bhatt, Professor Sinha, and all of you who have taken part in this seminar and given your time for making it a successful event. With this, I thank you all for giving me a patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Professor Godavari.
Thank you, Professor Mishra, for guiding us and driving us through the history of Indian philosophy and Upanishad. Now I'd like to request Lala sir for the vote of thanks. Please, Lala sir, come up on the stage and grace the podium.
Before I deliver my vote of thanks, I would like to welcome scholars from Ahmedabad who have just joined. I request Yashodhara Akar, our director, to welcome Professor Gautam Bhai Patel. And request our trustee Mahadev Tirtham, Professor Jala, to welcome 311-31-1085. Professor Jala to welcome Dr. Jitubhai Shah. I am very happy he has come second time to HSRC. I request our Deputy Director Chandrakant Srivastav to welcome Professor Dilip Bhai Charan. Well, friends, Honorable Professor R.C. Sinha, Chairman ICPR, Professor S.R. Bhatt, Chairman IPC and former Chairman ICPR, and our beloved academic advisor, Dr. Godavari Sharma, Professor Gautam Bhai Patel, Dr. Jitubhai Vyas, Professor Dilip Bhai Charan, and all guests offline and online. It is my privilege to offer initial vote of thanks to all of you who have taken time to join this inaugural session, and those who have taken time to join us online thanks to this technology. Without taking much time, we are slightly running behind the schedule. I'll just summarize what Dr. Sinha Sahab has told and Professor Bhatt Sahab. Professor Bhatt Sahib has suggested us to take up a very great project, marvelous project, let us say all India level. And let me tell you, Bhatt Sahib, Dr. Sinha Sahib has also promised us to, rather he is encouraging us to take such all India level project for collecting all this, which Professor Bhatt Sahib has requested, collecting the spiritual teachings of various saints and seers across all over India. And we need such hard worker academicians who can take up this work state-wise. 3 great experts from Gujarat are already here today. So definitely Gujarat part they will take care to document those spiritual teachings. Plus all of those who are listening this program online, I request you to offer your willingness wherever suppose you want to take up any such personality, say recent personalities like 200, 300 years, who have transformed the country through bringing the innovations in spiritual world in India. So this is, I can assure you, Bhatt Sahib and Sinha Sahib, under your able guidance, will be able to take up this project. It may be 3, 4 years, 5 years project, but definitely we have our academic advisor, Dr. Misra Sahib, with us. So under all the guidance of all the 3 scholars, will be definitely trying to fulfill your wish. With this, I thank you everyone once again.